Welcome to AI for Gen X, a video podcast where we discover new topics about AI. My name is Marisa Wilson, and I'd like to take you along on my training journey. Each week, we'll discover new topics. As Gen X, we've done this before, we've learned new technologies, and I'm excited to learn this next one with you. So grab the dog, head outside, and in 10-20 minutes, you'll be a little closer to understanding AI. Hi, and welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about Fable 5 and more importantly, how not to be afraid of Fable 5 or ChatGPT 5.6 or all of these models. I want to go through a little story about how I spent my 4th of July weekend to hopefully entice you to get out there and try some things. Why am I telling you about them? What I want to do is give you examples of how I've used it. I'm not too technical of a person. Yes, I kind of know my way around, but the point is that really, if you are just curious and if you get going with this, I promise you it is just a matter of asking it every step along the way. So I want to tell you the stories that I had over the weekend. So we are in Tahoe, and my daughter and her 6 recently graduated college roommates all descended upon us. And of course, Fable or Anthropic was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to launch Fable 5 for you today over the weekend, even though you have 7 house guests. So in between going on the boat and giggling and being on the beach and enjoying perfect weather, I was admittedly sneaking back into the house and playing with all kinds of things. I want to tell you about what I did. I have a friend. He's great. He's a Navy doctor, and he has been curating a website for his practice having to do with reflective practice. He has worked really hard with this website since 2016. It's a WordPress site, and he has been curating content. He's opened it up to different practitioners, and they've been able to curate content. Think of this website as a teaching website with links to things like TED Talks or podcast with different topics, and institutions and practitioners could relate their content and create their own sessions. A really cool website. The problem was that it was built in 2016 and on WordPress, and I think the person that set it up wasn't around. So now it was a really useful website with really old plumbing. Fable 5 is Anthropic's latest model, technically Mythos with guardrails. And if you want some reality TV like tea and gossip, go back and look that up. I talked about it in a previous Substack articles, but for now, it's a really strong model. Very expensive and takes up a lot of power and resources. And so they can't just open it up nonstop for anybody to use. So they've opened it up for a trial period. Anybody with a paid subscription could use 50% of their capacity on Fable 5 up until it was going to be July 9th, and now they've extended it to July 12th. It's just a really cheap way to use the most powerful model that we have. I was very excited to it. When they did a little launch. You might have heard of this too. And the government said, no, I don't think so. During that little period that they were on, I did go on and I did an audit of my friend's site, and I was able to find all the links. About 30% of them were broken, but it got cut off before I could do anything with the site. So that went back in the back burner. When it launched again, I was like, great, I'm going to help them with this site. And what does that literally technically mean? Normally, when I use Claude, you can use a web browser or your phone, Claude.ai on the web. And I do have a desktop app, Claude app, but I hadn't really used it that much. This kind of forced me to use it. In the desktop app, there is a thing called Claude Code. And before you get scared, the way that I thought I was going to get scared, you might hear people say that it is more of a terminal type thing. I'm here to say, no, it's not. I mean, yes, you can use it as a CLI terminal, or you could just talk to it. And yes, there are / commands that you can do and give it different actual technical commands, but you can also talk to it in just normal language. And there's another really important thing, that tool that Claude has. You can get a Chrome extension. If you just go into Google Chrome and you look up the extensions, there's a Claude extension. You connect that. And what does that do? That allows your browser to connect to Claude so that it can see it. Because you might have noticed a lot of times if you're just in the app or the web and you try to access, let's say, LinkedIn, it won't allow it to just look at LinkedIn from the app. But if you have the browser extension turned on, it's essentially reading your browser. So I was able to go into Claude Code, basically just say, hey, this is my friend's site. I want to help them revamp it. This is what you did last time. It's on WordPress. Let's figure it out together. And normally, this probably would have taken weeks and weeks, and it probably would have been impossible for somebody like me to accomplish. But it just took me being, and what do I do next? Tell me exactly what to do next, what to enter, etc. I got the backend information from my friend. And with that, we were able to get a staging site set up. And that was something that I technically probably couldn't do, but it was, again, asking in Claude Code, how do I do this? How do I do this? Walk me through it. And it would go step by step. Connected to their hosting environment, created a staging site, connected to the WordPress staging site, and then started to work it. I wanted to change the design and say, what are the themes? So I picked a theme and I would work with Claude, say, is this a good theme? And say, no, use a block theme. And it was just a conversation. It was like if I had a technical person sitting with me, action by action, saying, yes, you can do that. Yes, go ahead and do that. And a lot of times I would be like, you do it. And it could, if you just said, I need this to be, I was having problems with things not rendering correctly on mobile. Hey, it's not rendering correctly on mobile. Fix it. And it would just go off and do and fix it. So if you're technical, you're probably rolling your eyes at this, but if you're not technical, you don't have to be technical. You just have to be curious. I was able to do the entire site, redesign. I would ask it, not only walk me through step by step, sometimes it required me doing a screenshot of something if it couldn't get access. It was so good at just understanding. And every prompt I would say, and I don't recommend this for everything, but it was just me learning, should I be on the lower level model or should I be on the lower level models are Haiku, then Sonnet, then Opus, and then Fable. If it was just a little back and forth, you use Haiku, you use a lot less tokens. And majority is going to be done in Sonnet. Really what Fable 5 is, it's an orchestrator. Think about hiring a McKinsey consultant to do everything. McKinsey $1,000 an hour consultant is not going to sit there and do some of the task-oriented stuff. But Fable 5 is pretty good at saying, I'm going to orchestrate this, launch lower agents that are going to use a lower model and to make things more efficient. Sometimes you can get to the point where you know exactly how to use it the most effectively. If you're using lower models, using lower tokens for just the back and forths, and then ramping it up to do something that's going to have more context memory. It's going to have to remember a lot of things along the way or just get really deep into reasoning. That's when you turned it on. In his site, the thing that was Fable 5, it would literally tell me, okay, so now we want to fix at least 90 broken links out of like 500, maybe more. It had given me a spreadsheet that it created with all the broken links. And Fable 5 was able to go to those links. And I'm talking like TED Talks and news articles and podcasts. And it would check every one. And if it was broken, it would try to decide like what's happening. Again, these links were from 2016. Sometimes the websites had been redesigned and it was just a matter of finding the link. Fable 5 could find that link. In the end, we ended up only deleting about 9 links that were true broken links, never again to be found. It was able to find relevant links. We're still in the middle of deploying it. I'm not going to say it's 100% perfect. Definitely little gotchas along the way. At one point, the Claude extension with Chrome wasn't working, but it was able to debug that with me. When they say that you'll be managing agents, I never felt that more than with this process. Claude doesn't magically know what is needing to happen or be done. That's when you come in. You're coming in to give it context. You're giving it direction. But there is no way I could have done this, and definitely no way I could have done this in the span of a holiday weekend. I joke because my husband's an AI VC. I've watched every single episode of the AI Daily Brief. I'm like AI pilled. And I love to talk about it. And my husband, who is an AI VC, he hears it all day long. So I don't think he's as enamored as I am. But he's like, but what have you built? Don't come at me with just talking. What have you built? And so finally this weekend, I felt like I really did build something. That one was the best. That was my true north. Very excited about that and very grateful to my friend for letting me have a go at this. So hope to help another friend out next with this type of thing because it was actually super fun. Then the next thing I tried to tackle in between going out to the boat and coming back and having fun, it was the 4th of July. And here in Tahoe that evening, they ended up having to close a couple of the beaches because it was Saturday night and there was underage drinking and just a little run amok. And the town, it was a beautiful weekend and the town was packed. People love Tahoe. I love Tahoe. It should be loved. I've been here for 2 years and it's pretty dead when the tourists aren't here. It is definitely a tourist destination and a lot of the economy is based on that. So you can't just be no more tourists. That's just not realistic. But if we could help foster our beautiful lake and environment into more stewardship, what would that look like? What would it look like for somebody coming to visit? My daughter's friends from Michigan, if they came and felt like they too had a part of Tahoe and they went back and they wanted to continue to give back. And so I just worked with Claude to build this interactive map of the lake in cartoon. And I just said, let's pick 10 destinations along the lake that are kind of popular and that they're also helped or managed by a nonprofit organization. I think many people don't know this, but Tahoe is between Nevada and California. It's not just one Tahoe district. It's a national park, state parks, both California and Nevada. It is land trust. It is a lot of different organizations that manage the area. And there are a lot of nonprofits that help maintain the area, keep it beautiful, keep it clean, keep it a true national treasure. One of our favorites is Tahoe Fund. Good friend Amy Berry leads that, and she does a fantastic job of just helping do real projects that really matter to Tahoe. So Tahoe Fund, for example, was instrumental in creating what they call the East Shore Path, and it's probably the world's most beautiful bike path, runs along the east shore of the lake. I constantly am up there and I hear people riding their bikes or running saying, this is the prettiest path I've ever been on in my life. This little map was just going to be a cartoon map with, I think we had 11 destinations. It was just Claude Code and me telling it, this is what I want to do. This is my idea. I want to have this interactive map where people can click on this specific location, find out a little bit about it, and then find out how to get there, and then find out about the organization that is helping make that happen and how to get back to that organization's websites and hopefully either volunteer or donate or at least be aware of our magic of Tahoe. Wasn't going to necessarily go anywhere. I mean, I had visions of, for example, an Airbnb at the end of their letter say, hey, here are some destinations to check out. And then it was a good way for it to give you information, but also raise awareness to the very important organizations that make our lake beautiful. So that was just, again, Claude Code, thinking it through. I think the lessons that I learned there is that it's important to plan out your project that you're going to do. If I were to just be like, make a website and find some destinations, you'd first have to be like, okay, well, what destinations? And kind of as a normal, project, giving it enough parameters, context, and not building until you're kind of ready for that. Because the building could take up, again, a lot of tokens, it could cost a lot. So you just want to do a good job of organizing it. Now, did I use Fable 5? I think I used Fable 5 for maybe finding the organizations and getting all that data really fast. Did I need it? Nope. It was able to build an HTML interactive file, self-hosted, super easy. That was one of the easiest projects. I think I fought with it more that it was trying to draw the lake as a bean and not an actual format of Lake Tahoe. So that was just funny. So that was that. And if you're coming to Tahoe, come to my Substack, find that article. I'll put it in the show notes and you can check it out. Then the third project was the most helpful for me. And I am so excited about this. What I ended up doing is building myself a personal operating system for AI for Gen X. And what I did is previously I had again been mainly working on the Claude.ai or my phone app version of it. And I had set up project folders. And this is a way where you can tell it enough context, give it instructions, include some files. And so every time you're in that folder area, it already has an understanding of what you're trying to accomplish there. What does that look like for me? For me, I have, and I named them because I pretend to have a team because, why not? First, I actually have Jim. And I named him from Office characters. I think I've mentioned this before, but Jim is my researcher, and he is responsible for I ping ideas off of him. He helps find information or relevant articles. He gives me a lot of background, and he builds a brief. And then I write the Substack article with Pam as my editor. And so she comes back and will tighten this up, or she'll, make sure that it is consistent with what I'm trying to get done with this AI for Gen X, whether it's voice or just context, because otherwise I tend to drift in lots of directions. So she's really good at keeping my content consistent throughout. And then there's Michael, and he's the growth, and he might look at ways of growing my subscriber base or just my reach. All of this is a little bit of an experiment for me. There's not a monetary thing attached to it. Hopefully one day it is. I moved back to the Bay in August, and I'm either hoping to get a paid position or continue to grow this because I'm having so much fun with it. Then I also have Dwight. He's analytics, and he's attached to going back, whether it's YouTube or these podcasts or social media. And all of this was already designed on the app front, but I hadn't done it on the desktop, and I hadn't used Claude Code with it. The other thing is I had done a lot of work with it and iterations, and it was all over the place. I even had done a branding thing at one point, but then Claude Design came out, so I did another branding thing with that. It was starting to get messy, and I will say that the more you use this, you can get messy very quickly, and that's normal. That's okay. You're learning. So what this exercise was just to clean everything up. And that was so great because it could go find all the iterations, tie it back together, understand files that related with brand or files that related with voice or files that related with process and workflow, and figure out what is the latest version and strategize on what it should be. You can connect these tools to your Google Drive, to your desktop, your Gmail, your calendar. By the end of this exercise, I have everything connected. There is a workflow in place. We have calendar sessions. Mondays, I go into that meeting information. It's got the description of exactly how I pull in the briefing from Jim, how I work with Pam because I kept forgetting. And then on Wednesday, Jim goes and research things that I could potentially do for the next week. On Thursdays to Fridays, I have the analytics being looked at in a dashboard format that then I can take back to growth and say, hey, this is working, this is not. We documented exactly everybody's role. Everybody's Claude.md file is where you write some instructions, or Claude instructions in their project folders on the Claude app. All of it is consistent. I've got one brand voice. We connected it with Canva, made sure all my assets were exactly the same everywhere. And now I'm not running up and down trying to find stuff. And then I also built routines. And when I say I built routines, it was more me in Claude Code. What do I do here? Like, how can we make this efficient? I even have a office administrator, goes in, cleans out my many, many screenshots that I take throughout the week, triages emails, just keeping me kind of organized. I talk through what's working and what's not. And I don't expect this to be a consistent thing that happens just, it's a well-oiled machine where we're just working with agents. Are these project folders? Yes, but kind of they are agents. I mean, I think there's a nuance of what an agent actually is. And this has me more excited than anything. And along the way, it was mostly Opus, strategize this, and then Fable 5 for the overall. Let me make sure you're consistent throughout. You've got a good process. And then even setting up a quarterly review to see how is this working. I hope to do another session, really show you exactly how to do this, because I definitely recommend. If there are tasks that you are doing, just ask yourself, pick one thing that you question, could AI do this? I'm willing to bet it's yes. And it's you going onto the tool and being, this is what I want to do. What do you think? Let's have a strategy session and push back and do a steel man and help me think through this. And again, this was many months of me doing this and getting it wrong, and I will continue to get wrong, but also understanding that I could build a process that works together, that works on my actual functional files, and for the analytics, literally goes and gets the content, so it's already there. I'm not having to log in. Right now, I'm still very manual at this, but every time I get better. And then so for the last project, this was so much fun, and I feel like I need to take this to something bigger because it was so much fun. And this was the notion that I had just given a workshop at Incline Village Library, and a lot of it was around knowing how to prompt. Very basic, but most of us are there, and that's okay. So it is learning to give the prompt context and the parameters and constraints to get better answers. I had it help me build an app, and this is an actual app with using Claude Code. Again, I went into the Claude Code saying, this is my idea. I want to build this little app where somebody comes in, gives you an actual prompt, and then I have this persona called Darlene. She looks like Velma from Scooby-Doo and has the energy of Punky Brewster, and she's just ready to help you at any given time. So I wanted her to be there and answer with this ridiculously, gloriously huge response because you didn't give it enough parameters. Fable 5 was awesome with that. Fable 5 understood what my voice was, absolutely nailed my sense of humor. And so when you go into this app, please, please, please go check it out because it's super fun. You write in your prompt and it gives you this ridiculous reply. Then you can click and say, give me a better prompt. And then it reorganizes the prompt, gives you suggestions of with more parameters, and then your expected result. It's not meant to be a replacement for your AI thing. It's more of a fun tool and a fun way to understand, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. This is why we give prompts better constraints. But it was so fun, and I'm getting a lot of good feedback. And the level of funny that Fable 5 is with these prompts, it's awesome. And so I will say again that when I say an app, I literally mean I went into Claude Code. I said, I want to build an app. And it got me through setting up my first GitHub repo. That is a place where you can put code snippets, if you will, or projects and have version control. My husband just had an article on LinkedIn the other day that talks about how one of his founders says he won't hire a marketer that can't code. What does he mean? He didn't mean literally that the marketer has to sit there and code, but the marketer is going to need to know how to do more than just tell somebody what to do. It's just too easy to do it yourself now. You've got to take ownership of your ability to create something. So for this Ask Darlene, it had me walk me through step by step creating the GitHub repo, walk me step by step and hosting it on Vercel. I think I capped it at $20 a month, just to see what it was like. But it was so fun that I could say, I built a cute little app, and I am just loving every day that I learn with AI. Final note, people keep saying it's taking away our creativity. I'm saying, get creative. Don't get scared. Get creative. Get creative in the way that you can have a different way of working. Continue to play with it. You'd be surprised what you can do. My challenge to you this week is pick one thing that you think it could do, and just dedicate the time to get it done. Keep telling it to ask you or help you along the way. I don't know how to connect to my Gmail. Show me how to connect to my Gmail. I don't know how to do this. Show me that. And you will get there. And you will be so proud of yourself for learning something that is brand new to so many. And that's my story about using Fable 5 and not being afraid. If you like this, please, 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 I'm trying to grow my Substack. That's where my true magic comes in. I'm a writer, not a lover. camera is just something that I do to show my authentic self, but Substack is where I get my funny in, and now Fable 5, or now Claude, understands it perfectly. Thanks.